Welcome, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread? First two cards in our spread for today are, we have here our Three of Wands in its reversal in combination with our Knight of Wands in its reversal. So what are we effectively seeing at this time? This is a lot of that energy that we have been talking about that is occurring during this retrograde cycle. It's not easy. It is energetically frustrating. It is navigating those energetic hurdles. It is working through them. It's not easy. It's creating that sense of frustration. And remembering right now, particularly with the combination of the Mercury in retrograde in combination with the Mars in retrograde, one of the things that we see that this is that like double down energy that we're experiencing at this time. What, right? Where does it feel like it's like a 1-2 punch between the frustrations in the realm of communication and also the feelings of confidence, right? Recognizing and identifying that this is the energetic vibe right now, right? It's not you, it's the vibration. Like, so if you're feeling like that, I want you to remember the overarching message right now is do not overly internalize an external problem. Recognize and identify the energy, right? Where is the phone call coming from? Is it coming from within or is it coming from without? Because working through this to a certain degree, and I got to tell you, like, again, what do we see when we're navigating those moments that we feel like our confidence is being shaken, right? It's like all of those doubts, all of those fears rise up to the surface. For the love of everything holy, like make sure that you're not jumping. If you've got an anxiety or fear rising up, don't jump on that horse. Like don't navigate forward in that direction. Working through this to a certain extent, right? Like just working, like I want to say a lot of this work right now has to be in the space or place of dispelling negativity, right? Just say like no, no, just like negate it. Don't allow yourself to feed into it, right? And a lot of that work, like I want to say that sometimes it's like when you start to feel that, like, ooh, you just got to kind of shake your head and be like, ooh, like that's what it, like, it's like shake it off. So like, and I know it sounds easier to say, right? Because when you're feeling that, it feels like that sense of like, it's like creepy, right? It's creepy energy right now. But just recognize that if like that's the combination of the retrograde with the Mars in its retrograde, right? Things are slow. You don't feel confident. It's like haunted house kind of energy, right? Like it's fine. It's a vibe. So just like, it's kind of requiring that sensor space of like rolling with the punches to a certain extent. The Mars retrograde is going to stick around for a while. I believe the Mars retrograde's ending in January, but I believe the Mercury retrograde is probably going to be until the 16th, right? So again, just give yourself a little time right now. And I want you to kind of like focus on what feels positive, right? Like just like this is giving a lot of like mood boosting, like if you're feeling down, don't just like dwell in it, like boost the vibe, like kind of like it's really kind of, again, like working through that, like putting it into productive spaces. Now this is having a different impact on the frequency cycles. Now, masculine and feminine energy, deep within divine union. I got to say, this could be having a lot of issues in the realm of miscommunication, right? And anxiety. Don't remember giving each other the grace of compassion in those modalities right now is really key, right? Because a lot of this is saying to me like, and it feels to me like it's having impacts on like communicating how one feels and planning, right? It's like a lot of like, it's a lot of these, like, it's just a lot of these, like, and that's the thing about it, like, assuming, giving one another the benefit of the doubt to a certain extent, and not allowing oneself to feel isolated. Like it feels to me like having to forge those connections, it requires it requires conversation. And a lot of that, I see even now, um, has to do in, and this is having a different impact on masculine and feminine. For feminine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For feminine, um, I feel like feminine is much more in the practical space right now. Right. And this is why these energies feel like they're somewhat disconnected, because feminine is navigating tangible circumstances. Feminine's all we saw, like with all, remember, we saw feminine yesterday with like all that heavy space in the pentacles in the reversal. So just navigating the practical space right now for feminine has got their hands full, right? For masculine, masculine is not navigating those right now. So a lot of this is having more to masculine experiencing some kind of passions or creativity blockages, right? So you can see even now that there's a little bit of this energetic disparity, because it's giving a little bit of masculine potentially trying to come towards feminine from a place of like feeling their passion, like moving from their creative and passion blocker, and feminine's like saying my hands are full, right? I'm working, like I'm working. It's like, come back later, babe. I'm working kind of energy. Like, you see what I mean here? So this is why there could be so many of these disparities right now, because these are energies that are in their space of investing. But again, recognizing and identifying that, how do we work through those? We understand, we are compassionate towards them, and we don't take them personally, right? Well, for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is coming into divine union. A lot of this work that we're seeing that's being navigated right now for energy coming into divine union has to do specifically with, again, not overly, like when you're experiencing, like the message coming through for energy coming into divine union is like when you're working through energetic turbulence, you don't overwhelm yourself by chasing after the source, right? Because like a lot of that, to a certain extent, this is why I see that if this is the energy that's already kind of effectively cleared some of that energetic turbulence, because this is the energy that, like, when you recognize is that when you're moving something into the tangible space, there's always going to be there's always going to be a little bit of that rockiness, right? But this isn't the energy that's feeling that rockiness as they're moving deeper into divine union and allowing it to shake their concentration. Rather, this is the energy that reaffirms their own energetic commitment by saying to one another, like helping, like building into that sense of confidence, right? And the difficulty about this, if these are situations or scenarios where it feels like energy is experiencing someone like outside of partnership, like creating those doubts, creating those fears, creating those anxieties, this is the energy that just, again, is working to dispel it within the self, because this is the energy that says that when we allow other people's opinions to affect what we're creating with another, that is how we damage our partnerships, right? It's coming through as that sense or space of acknowledging and appreciating one's own source of truth within partnership. And that's why we see even now that is the difference. That is the articulation point between someone voicing something from a place of energetic concern versus someone being very fixed in that point that feels like it's oppositional in the directionality that one is going. So I see even now that a lot of this work that we're identifying and recognizing to a certain extreme a degree, like this is that strengthening, if you will. This is that feeling of like, and I see even now, like working through that, like this is the energy that, like, even as they're going through those modalities of frustration, it's not pulling them further apart, it's bringing them closer together, right? While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is in separation, I'm just seeing that for a lot of this energy in separation during this time, working through this, this is the energy that is experiencing that sense of coming into new partnerships. But what is happening at this time? Right? Like, right as a new energetic connection is forming, we see that we get this like double retrograde energy, which can shake our own confidence, right? As it relates to experiencing the feeling of the past energetically returning. But what are we seeing that's happening right now for a lot of the energy and separation, navigating forward in that work? This is the affirmation that we see to a certain extent of energy affirming and saying that the ability to move forward is articulated and amplified by the experience of looking at the past that hurt you and saying that was not the rule. That was the exception to the rule, right? And this is a lot of the energy that's like dispelling that energetic illusion in relationality to the past that returns, because this is the energy that says and looks towards that past and says, this is something that I look towards because it helps me. I'm not going to hold on to the hurt of the past. I'm going to hold on to the confidence in allowing it to inform the decisions going forward, right? Every day is an opportunity to heal. Now, for feminine and masculine, this is hard because this, I see even now, this is energy that is working on building trust, while at the same time, like when you're building into that space of trust, it requires you to have to step forward. And often it feels like you're stepping forward in a way. It feels like you're moving towards your, like, I see energy being like, why does healing feel like I'm moving towards my doom? Because it does sometimes, right? Because that's what we build with in relationality to intentionality, that recognition point of understanding and saying that in order to trust, we must first extend our hand, right? And this is the energy that in the time and the space that they move slowly, this is almost the amplification of energy that is discerning the difference in building trust, right? The trust that is earned via the consistency versus the energy of the past that may have demanded trust from one, right? And so we see even now like a lot of that healing that's taking place, but it's heavy. It's difficult because I see even now this is the energy that's moving slowly, not from a place of hesitation, not from a desire of not going forward, but from a legitimate anxiety in relationality and being able to trust the new energetic counterparts that they're trying to build with, right? Center card for today's spread is, oh, we have here our Knight of Cups in its reversal. So this is having a different impact, again, on masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For a lot of this, I want to say for a lot of the masculine, like for masculine energy right now, you know, and this is what is so difficult about some of this like double retrograde that we're experiencing. It feels like it takes and it feels like it feels like it's having an impact on one's own sense of confidence. I'm going to reaffirm that. This is the outside energy. If you didn't feel like this last week, that's because this is the energy that we find ourselves in. It's the Mars retrograde. It creates that sense of anxiety in relationality to the feelings of confidence. On top, right? On top of the energy of the retrograde, the Mercury retrograde. You see these two cards here? Like this is the combination of the Mars in retrograde with the Mercury in retrograde, right? Like communication, planning, getting confounded, confidence, like feeling a little bit of that erosion here. So what do we do? What do we do when we feel like that? We let our intentionality guide us forward. And so I see even now, like the thing that I think that's interesting right now is for a lot of the energy of the masculine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. You know, I see a lot of that masculine energy, like looking towards, like even recognizing, like this is how the energy is healing and being like, why do I feel like this? And the energy, like looking outside of the self and being like, this isn't happening from within, this is happening from without. Right. So even here we see that some of that being able to facilitate forward in that fashion. This is even a lot of that masculine energy that's like I feel like there's masculine energy right now that's healing in separation, checking their own astrology or in relationality to this, because some of that feeling of the density, like I just want to point out that a lot of the energy that's healing, they can recognize the difference between what feels like it is internal versus what feels like it is external, right? Like this is masculine energy being very like in a in a point of healing and separation, that masculine can tell the difference between what is within versus what is without. While for feminine energy, this is the feminine energy that is building into that pathwork of healing and recognition of the masculine that can articulate that, because I see a lot of the feminine energy in separation that recognizes that this is the case as well and is looking towards the masculine to see if they can recognize it too. So I see even now, like, the energy that's healing is recognizing when the vibes are off, right? They're not assuming that the energy, the counterpart energy is the source of the vibe. This is the energy that's just looking at something and being like, the vibes are off. But this is why the energy is healing, because these aren't the energies that are building into that pathwork of pointing that towards, like, that this isn't the energy that feels that to a certain extent and projects it outwards. This is just that modality of recognizing and identifying it, and articulating upon it, right? The anxiety that is expressed instead of reacted to is the anxiety that is healed, right? It is in the expression of the doubt, is in the expression of the fear, right? Not building into that pathwork of assumption that we allow for that point of correction. So we see even now, like, a lot of that is allowing for energetic breakthrough points, because this is the energy that isn't being limited in that modality. They're expressing upon it, and it allows for that sense of breakthrough. Now, for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, for a lot of the energy coming into divine union right now, this has more to do with what we're effectively seeing in relationality and in regard to feeling some of that turbulence as you're moving something into a deepening state of connection. I'm going to say it again. It's not uncommon when we move into deeper energy of divine union to experience some of that energetic turbulence. This is the energy that's allowing that turbulence to break their own conversation, to break their own concentration and relationality to what they're creating with partnership? No, right? Because even if these are energies that disagree as to the intentionality of another trying to create those points of anxiety, this is the energy that doesn't like focus on trying to dispel it. This is the energy that just continues forward in relationality of kind of shrugging, right? Because when someone's in that modality, it's about, like, this is the energy saying, like, that's why we kept seeing that so much of that energy was saying you get like one opportunity to do so, because this is the amplification and articulation of the energy saying that if someone brings forward something to you as you're building into connection with someone, the sense and space of identifying someone that says to you, I'm saying this to you because I want what's best for you. If that in that moment that the energy understands that that's what feels its best, that it becomes dispelled. But if someone is focusing and being much more rigid upon it, this is the energetic equivalent of someone seeing and saying to one another, like how you may feel doesn't impact the energetic connection. This is the energy saying almost to someone, I'm sorry you feel that way, and proceeding forward, right? While for a lot of this energy right now, deep within divine union, this is more of that same feeling of, I want to say, disparity, and this is why I need to just say right now, for the energy deep within divine union, this may be feeling the most intense. Why does this feel the most intense during this time? Because for a lot of the energy navigating forward in that way, feeling that energetic frustration, trying to facilitate through it, I keep seeing that there's like a lot of static there because, and this is how it feels similar to the energy in separation, working through that. This is masculine and feminine energy that are like, how do I explain this in a way that makes the most sense? The path work as is such is creating a lot of emotional vulnerability for masculine. And the pathwork at the moment is requiring a lot of energetic strength from feminine. So building into that alignment point, right? Being considerate in relationality to where you may find another, right? In those moments that we don't feel like that our pathwork requires us to bring forth something within. This is the energy that's not taking that personally, right? This is the energy that is recognizing and supporting one another in the progress, because this is the energy that is working on understanding that we can be like, we can facilitate and work through things in different ways and allowing for those point of breakthrough. And I feel like even now, like a lot of that work, it's difficult because there's a lot of that focus and concentration in deep within divine union right now as it relates to the miscommunications that we often experience during retrograde periods, as well as the emotional vulnerability that's being brought forth with the Mars in retrograde. Fourth and fifth cards in our 5-card spread for today are, can I please have them? Thank you. We have here our Justice card in its reversal in combination with our Lovers card, right? So we see even now, like this is what feels frustrating, right? Because this is the energy that's like it is the amplification, if you will, in relationality to, like, and I gotta say this right now, if you're working through this deep within divine union, don't take your frustration out upon the counterpart. You know, this is the gift, like this is the gift that we give each other in counterpart connection, right? And it's hard because I see even now like the difficulty of navigating forward in that way to a certain extent. This is the energy that says to one another, you know, you see the most difficult parts of me. But this is the energy that says, show me those parts of you that are difficult and let me love you there. Like, let me start there, right? Because that is the bright spot, right? That is the bright spot that we see that may be occurring right now in some of these modalities, working through that to a certain extent, feeling that same frustration, right? Working through that to a certain degree. I see even now, like that is the energy that builds a sense of even deepening counterpart connection in the process. And that's why I say to a lot of the energy coming into divine union right now, I see a lot of this energy moving deeper into divine union today. And I just got to say this, like whenever we see energy moving deeper into divine union, it's always a little bit more heavy for the energy within divine union, right? Because I see even now, like this is the energy, like feeling a lot of that intensity as the energy moving deeper into divine union kind of moves through some of that energetic turbulence, right? While for masculine and feminine energy in separation right now, this is a lot of that energy, you know, feeling some of that doubt, feeling some of that fear coming through with the combination of the Mars in retrograde with the Mercury in retrograde. But what do you do when you're feeling anxiety? You don't allow those anxieties to guide you forward, right? Like you don't allow that to be. This is the energy that may be feeling like some of that sensation of the anxieties of the past. When we're healing wounds of trust, it often feels like we're moving towards the thing that hurt us, right? But we see even now that when we do that, recognizing we reaffirm what is tangible, what is real, oppositional to that energetic fear. It requires bravery. And I'm going to say this right now for a lot of the energy and separation. Bravery is not what you do when something is easy and you know exactly how something's going to turn out. Bravery is the way that your intention moves you, right? Bravery is working through that to a certain degree. So I see even now that there's a lot of this energy that is experiencing what may have been identified as hope prior to the moment that you were hurt, right? Because when we're not in a space of healing, hope often feels like anxiety, right? So I want to say that I want a lot of the energy right now. If you're experiencing this, I want you to move that anxiety into hope. Just move it. Say, I'm choosing to feel this as hope. Now continuing to get clarification between our Three of Wands in its reversal in combination with our Knight of Wands in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with, look at that. I'm telling you, that's the thing about this. It's a difficult with this energy right now. It's just the vibe, okay? It's the combination of the Mercury retrograde with the Mars retrograde. Don't overly internalize an external problem. Recognize, don't allow yourself to move in the directionality of one's anxiety. Don't allow oneself to move in the directionality of one's energetic fear. Allow one's intentionality to guide you forward at this time. It's not, and when something like, change it. Like I see, like this is like, and I know I'm making it sound far easier than it is. I know I'm making it sound far easier than it is. But just allowing that sense of saying to oneself, I choose to experience this as hopefulness, right? If you're feeling anxiety, don't allow it to overrun you. Build into that sense and space. You adjust anxiety. You destroy anxiety by moving it into hope. You destroy anxiety by moving it into excitement. So I see even now, working through this to a certain extent, this is energy that is building into that sense or that space, if you will, of having to navigate that work of uncertainty, but not allowing it, by like transforming it into something that feels like it is positive and productive. Now, for a lot of this energy right now, I can see a lot of the energy in separation. Like I can see a lot of the energy in separation articulating and feeling that anxiety of saying, I'm afraid to trust again. Like we know it's hard. It's hard to trust again when the space that you earlier put your trust was violated, right? But this is how we heal trust. We heal trust by looking at the past and saying that was not the rule, that was the exception to the rule. And this is happening, and this is why I think it's so important right now, because they're saying to me that this is happening for both masculine and feminine right now. A lot of this hesitation is not hesitation, it's trepidation. The energy that's in the space of healing is not moving slowly because they don't want to move in the direction of one another. They're moving slowly because it's hard to heal when you've been hurt. And so the ability, don't assume if you see slowness right now as you're building into a connection that it is because someone doesn't care. Recognize that could be coming from a space of trepidation, right? And so for masculine and feminine, what do I see that these energies are doing? Are they moving in the directionality of the anxiety? No, they're articulating upon it. They're articulating upon it. They're building into that sense of recognizing and understanding. And via that explanation, this is how that point of resolution comes through. It's not easy, but I see even now it's important because this is the energy that says, I'm afraid. And what does the other person say? Say, oh, I'm terrified, right? Like this is the energy that heals in the modality of doing that. While for masculine, and again, it is the articulation that is shared, that is immediately relieved, right? While for masculine and feminine energy, that is building into this. We see even now that and that's the energy that's not taking one another's path work personally, right? While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, I just see that a lot of this work that we're recognizing for the energy coming into divine union right now is based upon and built on the recognition of the energetic connections that, you know, don't necessarily feel as supportive of what it is that you're moving towards. Like I see even now, like this is energy that is recognizing and feeling the viability of their connections because of what they're recognizing, like how, like the energy around them is changing, right? And when we navigate that change, when we navigate the force of that change, this is what's bringing out that sense of confidence, if you will, right? Because for a lot of the energy moving into those deepening energetic connections, these aren't the energies that say to one another, oh, things are changing around us, let's stop. This is the energy that says things are changing around us, let's proceed forward, right? Because that ability of doing so, that ability of articulating upon it, this is the energy that says, I welcome, like welcoming that change, because that change is amplified and articulated upon what one feels is viable, right? This is the energy that says this is not that limitation point. This is the energy that says as long as the energy can change, they can move along with, right? So we see even now that that is why that is not the energy that is putting a lot of it concentration into the reasons why someone may be experiencing or bringing forth more of that trepidation. This is the energy that is just recognizing and adaptable to it. Continuing to get clarification right now for the energy deep within divine union, I just see even now that for a lot of this energy deep within divine union, navigating forward on that work, it's not easy, right? It's difficult. But this is the energy that says to one another, again, much like we see with the energy in separation, articulating upon those anxieties, articulating upon those doubts. These are the energies that give each other confidence via the similarity in terms of experiencing something and recognizing and feeling that unification in relationality to what one is changing or how one is changing, right? It's a lot of that amplification of the path work. Continuing to get clarification here between our Knight of Wands and its reversal in combination with our Knight of Cups and its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with, we have here our High Priestess in its reversal. So we see even now, like this is where we're recognizing that so much of that hurdle is being worked through, because we're seeing even now that for like a lot of the energy right now deep within divine union, working through that space of doubt, right? Working through one's own anxiety, working through one's own fears. What do we see that is occurring in these spaces? Are these the energies that are over internalizing those processes? No, these are the energies that are working through in those spaces of intentionality, right? That ability of doing so, navigating one's own doubts and fears. We see even now that for a lot of the energy doing that work, deeply invested in doing so, this is a lot of that healing that comes forth via the ability to articulate upon one's own limitations. And what is the energy deep within divine union doing for one another at this time? They're acting as clear mirrors. They're giving that clarification point to one another. They're giving that sense or that space of energetic support. It's not easy, right? But it's not the thing that we do when things are easy. It's how we navigate a lot of that heaviness. So we see even now for a lot, and this is bringing forth right now also towards the energy coming into divine union. Because for a lot of the energy right now coming into divine union, that articulation point, recognizing and identifying what feels supportive, like what feels viable. This is the energy that works to alleviate doubts and fears via the articulation and clarification of what support feels like. So I see even now that for a lot of that energy doing so, you know, this is the energy that like works in that space of feeling the uncertainty of confidence, but then saying to one another, confidence is not something that we do when we're feeling it's easy. Confidence is a thing we do when we're feeling like it's hard. While for masculine and feminine energy right now in separation, a lot of this work that we're seeing right now in separation, this is a lot of that same like pressure that we're experiencing right now. But this is the energy that is contending with and experiencing those modalities of looking at the past. Those places where, again, often these retrogrades bring the past to the surface to a certain extent. And in that experience, is this the energy that's looking back at the past and feeling that weight? Yes, but this is the energy that feels that weight and says, I'm not going to allow the things that broke my trust in the past to ruin my ability to trust going forward. So there's a lot of this work that we see right now in terms of healing trust. But a lot of that ability of healing trust, it feels so counter oppositional to healing, because often it feels like having to like put weight on something that you're scared to put weight on, right? Masculine and feminine both articulating this, which is why it's really important to assume if you're experiencing trepidation right now in separation, that giving someone the benefit of doubt, especially in relationality to what you've experienced with them, that point of consistency, that is what we call trust. Trust is that continual leap of faith. Continuing to get clarification between our Knight of Cups and its reversal in combination with our Justice card and its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Wheel of Fortune in its upright. Now, masculine, this is the, you know, and this is what we talk about, like with the Wheel of Fortune's in its upright here. Some days you just got to put a little bit more grease on the wheels. Like some days you just got to put a little bit more grease on the wheels. And so for a lot of the energy right now, some days you just got to put a little bit more grease on the wheels. And so for a lot of the energy right now, deep within divine union, I just keep hearing the same message is coming through. I'm not going to let the past define me. I'm going to allow the past to refine me. Right? Don't allow the past to define you. Allow the past to refine you. So that ability of moving forward, taking those steps forward, right? Building into that space. This is, I know it feels heavy, but this is how we get over like this is how you have to recognize that like this type of energy, you got to recognize an obstacle before you overcome it. I know it feels hard, but often it's hardest right when you're on the cusp of a breakthrough. Don't let it change your intentionality if you're feeling a lot of that weight. Let it focus your intention. You know, continue to drive forward in that way. And even if it feels like, again, even if it feels like the wind is strong in that direction, continue to push forward towards it. Because I see even now, like for a lot of this energy, and separation, a lot of new beautiful partnerships that may be occurring at this time, but it's hard because there's so much of that pull of the past there at the same time. Don't let it break your energetic concentration. The same message that we see even now. I mean, it's interesting that I'm saying this for the energy coming into divine union, because for a lot of the energy coming into divine union at this time, I'm just recognizing that a lot of that work or facilitating forward in that way, it doesn't feel easy. But this is more of that amplification that I'm recognizing right now in the energy, like they're saying the energy coming into divine union, if they've already moved in this direction, it's like, again, it's more of that energy of saying it's already happened, because this is the energy basically saying, like, if someone brings something to you, like in that moment, this is the energy that's almost saying like it's not changing something. And it's in that moment that I see even now that this is the energy that articulates and defines that, like that Like they're already in, like they've already moved deeper into divine union. It's funny because I see even now like a lot of that energy feeling like they're moving into the tangible space. But this is again the energy that doesn't feel like they're bringing something in the tangible space in order to fix something. This is almost someone saying and articulating and saying it's not something that's changing because it's already there. So even now, a lot of energy moving deeper into divine union today. While for masculine and feminine energy deep within divine union right now, this is why this may be feeling difficult right now. Because there's a lot, I just keep seeing even now that for the energy deep within divine union, like navigating a lot of those moving parts, like doing a lot of that work right now, it's not easy, right? And so I see even now like that ability of navigate, like working towards one another with a sense of compassion. Like this is the energy that feels so much of that productivity, because this is effectively what is articulated and defined in terms of recognizing what those changes are, right? There's a lot of this energy, and I see, and like I need to point this out. Like, look, I want to show you something. This is really important at this time, right? Because we've got here the Death card. We've also got here the Wheel of Fortune. So that's what I mean about not allowing anxiety to overrule you at this time. Let that be channeled into spaces and places of hope and productivity, because a lot of that force of change, right? Like change can be frightening, but it also can be reaffirming. So building into that space and taking something difficult and allowing it to become something productive today, this is like a lot of that work. So be very intentional in relationality to that. Continuing to get clarification between our Justice card in its reversal in combination with our Lovers card in its upright. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now, and there's that Tower energy. So again, there's a lot of heaviness today. There's a lot of working through that heaviness. But again, something is energetically heavy only if you can't lift it, right? Working through something to a certain extent and allowing one's intentionality to guide you forward. We're seeing even now that a lot of that work, like, right, the obstacle that is identified is just the hurdle waiting to be cleared, right? So I see even now that like a lot of that facilitating forward in that way, this is what is allowing for positive breakthroughs right now. But the difficulty is, again, for energy deep within divine union, this has to do with building upon and recognizing, and I need to point this out, for energy deep within divine union, it's not a question of like what one's like pathwork of purpose is. It's just a question of what it will take, right? So we see even now that for a lot of the energy focusing upon that, like this is why this work feels like it's energetically productive, because I keep seeing that this is a beautiful time to overcome obstacles. Navigating those challenges allows for breakthroughs, but it's requiring you not to get frustrated, but to allow yourself to be productive. And so that's what we see that the energy deep within divine union is doing at this time. While for energy that is coming into divine union, it's the same space. This is why I see so much of this energy right now moving deeper into divine amplification point, that recognition, if you will, of what feels like it is productive versus what feels like it is energetically damaging. This is the energy that like basically looks towards something and says that clarity of intentionality is what is creating that sense of guidance. So we see even now, like this is a lot of that energy that isn't coming into partnership because it pleases everyone around them. This is the energy that comes into that recognizes and identifies and says to one another when we're moving towards one another, we, if that's something, if that disappoints another, that's not something you can necessarily change. It's just something that has to be navigated, right? Continuing to get clarification between our death card in its upright and our high priestess in its reversal. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with our Five of Cups in its upright. So for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, I just see that for a lot of we're going to talk about the energy and separation first. For a lot of this energy and separation, this is what is so difficult at this time, because I see a lot of that energy that feels that sense of being ready to create new partnerships, to create new energetic connections, but it's requiring a lot of navigating along the way, right? This is the energy that is not moving forward from a space of confidence. This is energy that is confronting their own fear as they're trying to build forth into healthy, positive connections. But again, is this much like looking at something with an open palm, right? Is this the energy looking at something here that holds that anxiety too tightly, creates more of it? No. Is this the energy that drops something entirely, loses the energetic lesson? No, this is the energy that holds their anxiety in a space where they observe it, they assess it, right? To recognize and identify what feels like it is positive versus what feels like it is internal, right? So we see even now a lot of that energy facilitating forward in this way. These are how these energetic connections are being healed, right? They're giving each other the space to articulate upon those anxieties in order to recognize and identify what feels like it alleviates it. And this is beautiful because these are energies right now. I want to say these are energies right now in separation that are forging new connections that are already coming into alignment. There's a lot of this intensity that's occurring as it relates to being conscientious, because, and this is the difference I keep seeing right now between the energy, recognizing the difference between trepidation and hesitation, right? The trepidation of someone that moves towards someone carefully because of the recognizing and holding one's pathwork sacred, versus the energy that was hesitant in the past because they didn't care, right? So there's a lot of this work right now. And what's beautiful is this is the energy that heals in the process of articulating upon that. They're not allowing those anxieties to override. They're just overcoming them, right? Continuing to get clarification between our high priestess in its reversal in combination with our wheel of fortune in its upright. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our devil card in its reversal. So one thing that's beautiful here is we see there's a lot of this healing that's occurring right now. There's a lot of healing that's occurring right now across all of the frequencies. Now, for energy in separation, I'm just recognizing and identifying that a lot of this work, the reason it feels fundamental is because this is the energy that recognizes, I keep seeing the energy in separation, recognizing the difference between trepidation and hesitation. Being able to facilitate forward in that way. This is the energy that recognizes working through healthy fear, right? Healthy fear of intimacy, healthy fear in building back trust. It's difficult because often, again, the same message is coming through when we're trying to heal trust wounds. it often feels like we are moving in a direction that is counter oppositional to the one that we should moving towards, right? But we see even now that so much of that energy facilitating and doing that work, as it were, this is what allows for that work. Like, this is why I see that so much of these connections and separation feel like they're restorative, because it's the energy that's leaving room for that feeling of conscientiousness, that feeling of the healthy fear, right? These are the energies that say fear is healthy, so long as it is navigating what feels like it can harm one versus what one is experiencing from within. So we see even now, what is the energy doing right now in separation? They're not navigating in the space of allowing that fear to guide them. They're articulating through it and healing in the process. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, this is, I see a lot of energy saying, I'm sorry you feel that way, right? I'm sorry you feel that way is like the healing balm that's being put upon some of these energetic connections that may be feeling some of those like frustrations, right? Because that, when I said on this we can agree, right? The energy, regardless of whether they feel like that turbulence is coming from the same source, this is the energy that articulates and says, I'm sorry you feel that way, via the concentration or the amplification of one's intentionality, not trying to create that sense of taking something personally. When we're on a pathwork of purpose, we don't take other pathwork personally. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is deep within divine union, it's very much more of the same here. And if this is the energy that is working through and navigating and dealing with those frustrations right now, what do we effectively see is happening? This is the energy that re-amplifies to one another what one's intentionality is, right? This is the energy that works through that. And if this is the energy deep within divine union that is experiencing something wherein another is taking that pathwork personally, what do the counterparts do for one another? They act as a clear mirror. That ability of saying, I see what your intentions are. I recognize and identify them. This is the energy that helps clarify what feels like it isn't positive versus what feels like it is restorative, right? And it's not easy, but we see even now that so much of that space, this is the energy deep within divine union that heals with one another. And it doesn't require them to be in the same space. It doesn't require them to be feeling the same thing. But being able to act as a clear mirror for the counterpart, we see even now, like this is the energy that says, I recognize and identify what those intentions are. And if another can't see them, rest assured that I can, right? And this is how we heal. Continuing to get clarification between our Wheel of Fortune in its upright in combination with our Tower card. Now this is that breakthrough energy that we're talking about right now. Can I please get one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Queen of Swords in its upright. Right? And so we just see even now that like a lot of this work that we see and recognize is being facilitated upon. This is why this is so difficult, because it's bringing out different things in masculine and feminine energy right now. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. And I just want to, and this is why you cannot take the pathwork of the counterpart right now personally. Don't overly internalize it. Because what modality do we see the feminine in right now? Feminine, working on those healthy boundaries, working through them to a certain extent. This isn't the feminine energy putting do you see this? This isn't feminine energy putting too much energy towards something. This is energy that holds boundaries, right? That's why the Queen of Swords is holding that sword upright, right? So we see even now, like a lot of that feminine energy working in that space of being energetically protective. Masculine working in that space of the emotions right now, right? This is challenging right now. This type of energy is challenging for masculine because it feels like a lot of that feeling in relationality to experiencing the stillness of the retrograde and recognizing that the not taking it personally if others are also feeling that weight of the emotional confidence being combined with the stillness, right? Like today is not a day to take someone else's trepidation personally. Remember, it's the vibe. It's just the day. Like being compassionate, like not taking something personally today. We see like that's what allows, like, so for masculine, there's a lot of work that needs to be navigated today in being compassionate. For feminine, there's a lot of work that's being navigated today in being energetically firm. But that's why we see even now that energy working towards one another, seeing each other in different modalities that could feel counter oppositional towards what you yourself may be feeling, but not taking it personally, allows for that point of productivity, right? So we see even now like a lot of breakthroughs that are being navigated right now. But don't, if you see your counterpart in a modality that you're not necessarily like in alignment to today, don't assume, don't take that internally. Just recognize it for what it is. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is coming into divine union. A lot of this energy coming into divine union right now, I hear the energy saying, it is what it is. Like that is the healing bomb that we're seeing that is occurring right now for energy coming into divine union. It's just, it is what it is. If you're feeling turbulence as you move deeper into divine union, this is just the energy that basically says it is what it is as they continue deeper into it, right? So a lot of this work that we see, this is what is feeling restorational because a lot of energy is moving deeper into divine union as a result of that work today. It's not easy, right? But it feels productive and it feels healing. Now for masculine and feminine energy right now that is in separation, so much of this work that we're seeing right now in separation is being amplified and articulated upon. This is what is being required in order to forge those new energetic connections, right? And what's difficult about this is why the possibility of miscommunication right now is so high in some of these places. Because specifically for masculine, being able to articulate from the emotional spectrum, like being able to amplify and articulate like what those are, we see that this is the energy that is like working through their own feeling of confidence, feeling a lot of that sense of the feminine that's holding those boundaries, recognizing and not taking that personally, right? Understanding that that is the space that you find the energy of the feminine healing in. What is the healthy masculine energy saying to feminine? Which is, I understand why you have those boundaries. I understand that that isn't oppositional to me, that is what has occurred because this is where you find yourself on the healing journey. While for feminine energy, coming into that space of, again, feeling the trepidation of the masculine that is trying to come towards you from a place of emotional vulnerability, being able to hold forth in that way. We see even now that there's a lot of that energy right now that is building forward and taking that, trusting in the process, healing in those spaces of trust. But a lot of that trust that is being forged and fixed right now, it feels very much like working into that space of confidence. And again, confidence isn't what we do when we feel confident in something. Confident is what we do when we're working through our own anxiety and fear. Continuing to get clarification between our Five of Cups in combination with our Devil card in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Six of Pentacles in its reversal. So This is more of that energy. And even here, like, look, there is so much of this energy right now in separation that is healing profoundly because they're healing, they're feeling the sense or space of working towards someone that says, I don't, we don't have to force anything, right? This is what's so beautiful when we're building into that space of establishing and creating healthy connection, because that sense or that space of identifying and feeling the vitality of someone that doesn't take where they find you personally, but understands and recognizes it. This is the energy that in the articulation of those anxieties, this is the anxiety of saying, like, it feels like it clears the air, right? Because this is the energy saying, I understand that if you're worried about something, it's because you've experienced it. I understand if there's hesitancy, it's because there was harm that occurred. So these are the energies that are doing that work, pushing their own envelopes, if you will, but recognizing and identifying the difference between what they may have experienced in the past versus what they're experiencing in the present. Continuing, for masculine and feminine energy right now, coming into divine union. For a lot of this energy right now coming into divine union, I just see even now that more of that same statement of it is what it is, right? Working through that sense or space, that this is energy that feels like they're moving into a space of healing by deepening a connection. And so if this is the articulation of energy saying or having that modality of speaking towards that feeling of what is good for them and what feels like it's restorational, if someone is oppositional to that, this is the energy that just kind of feels that sadness as they let go of those energetic connections, because it feels like it is now healing the energetic connections outside of the self in the process. Continuing to get clarification between our Devil card in its reversal in combination with our, and for a lot of this energy deep within divine union, this is the energy that feels that vitality by recognizing and identifying one's intentions, right? This is the energy that feels that sense of healing of when questioning one's own pathwork and purpose. This is the energy that reaffirms and looks towards one another and says, I see you. I see and recognize what that is. And that ability of doing so, this is the energy that almost articulates to one another and says, if someone else wants to see something else beyond that, that is their choice, because these are the energies that see that intentionality clearly. Continuing to get clarification between our Devil card in its reversal in combination with our Queen of Swords in its upright. One card to clarify here. This is the Ace of Cups in its reversal. Now, masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, there's a lot of this, I want to say there's a lot of this work right now in relationality to working through frustration, right? It really is about working through frustration to a certain extent here. And a lot of that is amplified in like the gift of compassion that we give one another, is not taking that frustration like this is the energy that says if someone is experiencing something where someone is taking their frustrations out upon them, this is the energy that articulates and builds into that sense of appreciation via the recognition of saying, like, you know, you don't energetically deserve that, right? Like that isn't something that feels like, this is a lot of that energy that is recognizing what one feels like one is responsible for versus another trying to hold that emotionality upon the self. So we see even now that that's like a lot of that, you know, feeling of navigating frustration, but also helping to heal something in the process, right? Like this is the energy that like holds space for one another as they navigate in that way. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, coming into divine union, that's why I keep hearing a little bit of that energy saying to a certain extent, it is what it is. Because this is the energy that recognizes the difference between one's intentionality versus anything that feels like it's oppositional to coming into partnership, right? And even here, we see that this is the energy recognizing how far they've come in their own journeys, because this is the energy that feels that sense of bravery in relationality to moving forward to a certain degree and supporting one another as they proceed forward in that way. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, so much of this work that we see right now in separation, this is the energy that in the moment that they articulate upon an anxiety, instead of reacting to it, like what is the energy it's seeing in terms of understanding what feels like it's healthy versus what feels like it's not. Someone saying, I'm glad you told me you feel that way. Thank you for energetically sharing that. Because this is the energy that's saying to one another as they're coming towards one another in separation, your emotions are not a burden. They are a blessing. Your emotions articulated in a way that they're not meant to offend, like they're not meant as a weapon. They will act as protection, because this is the energy that says the emotions protect from those that do not want to hold them, right? Continuing to get clarification between our Six of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Ace of Cups in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Final card to clarify today. We have here our Five of Wands in its reversal. So for a lot of this energy right now, this is all about working into the context of what feels healthy, what feels restorative. For masculine and feminine energy in separation, I see even now that there's so much of this energy that, like, through the articulation of an anxiety or fear, immediately comes into that space or place of productivity, right? It's in the moment that we communicate upon something that we're able to express over it, that we're able to like navigate through it. So I see even now, like there's a lot of that amplification of working through trepidation, right? And this is how those energies are healing. And it's not easy, right? Because this is the energy that feels the frustration of almost saying to someone, I wish I'd met you before all of that had happened. But that's, again, some of that similarity that we're experiencing in terms of someone saying, I did not expect to be here, but I'm glad to have found myself here. While for a lot of this energy right now coming into divine union, this is a lot of that same energy that we're effectively experiencing in relationality to working through, coming into divine union and articulating, again, if there's modalities here where there's that feeling of frustration, someone articulating and saying, I'm sorry you feel that way, right? This is the energy that says, I'm sorry you feel that way, because this is the energy that says, the intentionality is not such that it was meant to cause energetic grievance. But it's almost that recognition that we move deeper into divine union that comes part and parcel with that journey. While for a lot of this energy right now, deep within divine union, I see even now, this is a lot of the energy working on what feels positive, what feels productive, right? And it does feel like a lot of that amplification of repair work. And some of that repair work, it's not easy, right? This is a lot of that identification of what feels like there's a lot of work that's happening deep within divine union right now in relationality to what feels like it can actually be repaired versus what feels like it is oppositional to it. And that's very difficult, because sometimes we just recognize that someone doesn't feel the same way as we do. But even in that modality, I see like that's the energy of the partners that like work in that space of navigating that disappointment together. And it's in that modality they come into that space of restoration. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now, with this eight, I gotta say, this Eight of Pentacles energy, this energy, it just feels like really frustrating. It makes it hard to get stuff done. It just feels like it makes it hard to get stuff done. Because it's like, I'm telling you even now, like the combination of the retrograde with Mars in its retrograde, it's that 1-2 punch of feeling a slowdown and then feeling someone like hit you right in the confidence. Like right in the confidence, like just as you were you get slowdowns when it hits you in the stomach, and then they everybody's got a plan until they're punched in the face. It's kind of like it's like a little bit of that type of energy, right? It feels like a little bit of that. So again, recognizing and navigating from a space of compassion, being energetically courageous, don't be reactive today. And if someone's being reactive to you, be intentional through it. Okay? Everything can be overcome, right? It's a question of being intentional in the process. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, gracestrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. Also, a couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. I want to thank everyone who attended my recent class on the Chariot card. Our next class will be held on Wednesday, December 18th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Strength card. I cannot wait to teach this class to you. The Strength card is one of my favorite cards in the deck. It's interesting because it's moved positions a lot in the deck. We'll be going over all of that in the class. If you are interested in becoming a part of our class program, all you need to do is head over to my Substack, gracestrega.substack.com. Your paid subscription to my Substack is your ticket of entry into our classes each and every month. You will also have access to the full library of tarot church classes that we previously studied. So it's not necessary for you to catch up. I will be giving a review on each of those classes in each and every class, but the materials are there for you when you're ready to receive them. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything that we've studied thus far. And if you are a founding member or you become a founding member to my Substack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, you will also receive a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, wherein I will assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your own limitation point and where you feel like you are on the tarot stop you from becoming a part of the classes. I also want to let you guys know that if you become if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, please go ahead and head over to my TikTok before you head over to my Substack, because there you will find a special coupon code that will give you an additional discount on that Substack subscription. Even if you don't become a subscriber to even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings and services. I post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. You'll also be notified as to giveaway information. And speaking of giveaways, we have announced the winner to our November giveaway. Congratulations to our winner. I also want to let you guys, and if you were interested in finding out if you won, just head over to my Substack. It'll be there in the newsletter. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my mentorship classes, on top of my life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for my clients that are seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason. Those classes are specialized to each and every student. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series. That is 4 45-minute classes, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your own personal journey. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.